it affects your payout.
So, Kurt, do you have a story for tonight for Daddy Tell Me a Story? Or something you'd like to know, like how do I do XYZ? That we might can answer.
Let me. So the thing that I'm not sure about is the tell me a story aspect of things.
All right, I'll do the story tonight.
No. The reason I'm saying that is like I actually have a story.
Okay,
but it's not particularly inspirational.
It doesn't have to be inspirational, right?
It might be a little interesting.
I mean, I think someone would tell me a story with Joe's woes with his manager at work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I've got something. I mean, I can certainly tell the story.
All right.
I ran into Shorty McShort manager today at the employee appreciation event. I just said hi to him and kept walking. But
so Kurt, how do I set it up? I'll be like, hey, tell me
how I learned to drive a stick shift.
Oh, I got a story about that too.
Does yours end in a totaled car?
No.
I've only driven a stick shift a couple of times. So.
I for years, once I learned, was a stick shift only guy. And then I got my Prius, and it would have cost more to buy a stick shift version of it than the automatic. So,
all right, let's see, Joe. I want you to check. So we haven't done this one. I want you to check.
Changed your. What do you think about? By the way,
why? We're finally getting that stupid corn thing off the thing. And it's the fall. It's the right time for corn mazes.
We can save it till next year.
Next year.
Next year.
Dang it!
Because I think you'll have a lot to weigh in on this topic, so that's why I switched.
Well, I do, absolutely do.
All right, and it's relevant to my this week in my life. So,
is it your birthday, Joe?
No, that was last month.
Yeah, we don't celebrate Joe's birthday. I don't know.
We just celebrate Charles's birthday by doing a live show on his birthday.
Yeah,
you got Kurt Demon Slayer update. Good thing I have an update.
Yes, sir. I told you last week I was putting it in.
No, I know.
I saw your comment in Discord, and I figured I'd let that ride, and we could talk about it tonight.
Yeah, same.
Yep. It's all good. It's all good.
I almost went, hey, dummy, we're not going to waste good show content in Discord. All right? Don't post that stupid shit here.
Language.
See what Kurt does to me, Joe? I've been clean for 5 years. 5 years.
Boy, your definition of clean down in Georgia differs from mine.
Dude, how cold are you, Kurt? Because it's cold.
It was like it's 34 degrees right now. It was about that this morning. It's not even as cold as it's going to get. So, I mean, it's just like you got to bundle up a little bit more, wear a hat. You know, I am getting colder because I've lost the weight.
Yeah.
So my tolerance level for the cold is a lot lower, but could be worse.
Well, and Charles doesn't have any heat where he's at because he's
I didn't put his face heater. I've been thinking about it.
You should turn on that fan behind you. Clearly, it'll help.
You know what will help, Joe?
Pushing a button.
Get ready to laugh out loud with Wise and Nerdy, the show hosted by two hilarious dads who
And a
bring
third
their
grandpa.
unique blend of wit, wisdom, and nerdiness to the airwaves. From sharing hilarious anecdotes about their own experiences to giving advice on navigating the ups and downs of life, these two dads have got you covered. But that's not all. They're also obsessed with all things nerdy.
All things nerdy.
From comic books and sci-fi movies to video and board games. So whether you're a fellow dad, a pop culture fanatic, or just in need of a good laugh, tune in to Wise and Nerdy and join in the fun.
Oh, that's right. And we need, I didn't want to share that right now. That's what we need to redo our intro. right? So that we can say 2 wise dads and 1 cranky grandpa.
Grr.
Yeah, that'd be great. I have Charles up there in the attic, his old Pappy Kurt.
That's Scrooge McDaddy to you.
And the generic Avenger himself, Joseph Hart.
That's right. Just generic Avenger.
Just generic Avenger.
Not anyone specific, just generic Avenger.
Tell Kurt that story real quick from Halloween. A little light. Here's a light and fluffy story.
No, I know all about his Halloween costume, but yeah, tell that story.
Yeah, so I posted in the Discord.
Ooh.
I dressed up with a blue button-down shirt, a khaki pants. I had Captain America's shield on my left hand. I had a Hulk hand on my right hand, and I had gaming glasses on. And one person all night knew who I was.
That was me.
One person. Well, I sent the picture to Charles and he knew who I was. But one person at the trunk or treat that I went to knew who I was. And half the people I talked to were like, "What's Free Guy?" And I was like, "Oh," because it's people that like I know them and I know they would like the movie. I couldn't believe that they hadn't seen it. And so yeah, so I was dressed as Guy from Free Guy, specifically the end fight scene. So, but yeah, it was fine. Everyone's like, "Oh, you're Captain America and Hulk?" And I'm like, "No, I am a single character and I am neither of them." And then I got a lot of puzzled people.
So Joe messaged me and it was like, he just says, "Who am I?" I was like, do you smell toast, buddy? You're Joe Hart. Are you okay? Do I need to call an ambulance? Then of course, that is Free Guy. So
That's right.
I need to watch that movie again.
It's good. I
good
was thinking
movie.
I need to watch it again too.
And I think it might be a PG-13 movie, which actually plays into my question this week. Every PG-13 movie can have one single F-bomb in it. And I wanted to know what your guys' favorite PG-13 F-bomb was. What was the moment that got you? And I'll go ahead and prep you. I think the movie's called Cuffs. And it's Christian Slater and in his heyday, back in the 90s, late 90s or whatever it was. And the whole premise of the movie is at the time in New York City, or it's coming to an end, whatever, you could buy a police precinct as a citizen. And I think there was another TV show based off of that later in life. But so him and his brother, who the brother, of course, is the upright, standing citizen, and Christian Slater is the same character he always plays, right? The rough around the edges, but lovable, bad guy kind of kid, mess up. And so we are not we, I don't know why I said we. They are sitting in a car in the middle of the movie, and Christian Slater, of course, is messed up one more time. And the straight-laced brother is just getting so enraged, and he just lets loose. And it's literally PG-13. So it's, "I can't believe you," beep, and beep, and it beeps out like 13 times. Christian Slater's face is straight, like, "Oh my God." 13 times it beeps out as he's saying these things. "You beep," and "I can't beep," and he just loses his mind. And he goes, and they don't beep the last one. It's "and F you." Except, of course, he says it, and it made me laugh so hard I had to stop the movie on my VHS player. Had to pause the movie and I have loved that scene. That movie's probably stupid as crap. I don't remember, but I loved Christian Slater. I still do. But that scene, that was my favorite F-bomb ever, really, because it was just such a you didn't see it coming, sneaking in there moment.
Oh man.
I've got one.
All right, you go for it.
Joseph's gonna be when he was at church and somebody.
I'm just hoping. I'm just hoping that that I can get mine out because Joe's probably got the same one. Maybe not.
You think so?
Maybe X-Men First Class.
Oh, yep, that's not mine.
Okay, where Xavier and Magneto go to recruit for the X-Men, and they find Hugh Jackman's Wolverine in a bar. And he goes, "Go F yourself."
Nice.
It was like a 30-second scene, but it was enough to give the fanboys a nice little cameo.
There you go. Mine comes from The Ringer with Johnny Knoxville.
Oh, all right.
Okay, we just watched that movie again the other day.
And the best part about this is it's an improvised line. It wasn't even part of. Part of
I know what you're talking about. I know it.
So they snuck out, and he's making a cover story about how they went out to get ice cream, and one of the other guys turns and goes, "When the did we get ice cream?"
And I know which guy you're talking about too.
Yeah.
And he was like the best character in that
was
movie.
So good, man. So good.
Yeah, that was I quote that more than I probably should, but it's a funny movie. I liked it.
Now, Kurt, picture Mormon Joe over here, and his kids are talking about ice cream in the back of the seat, and he goes, "Window, bleep." Then we go, and there's kids like, "Daddy, why are you cussing? What's wrong?"
Well, there's another one where one of them accuses him of picking up his CD. He's like, "You picked it up in broad daylight and you scratched it." And just there's a few other things, but yeah, those are the two things that obviously I don't actually quote it verbatim, but yes,
that movie could not be made today.
No, it couldn't. But that's okay.
Okay, kind of no. There's one.
There's a lot of great movies that can.
That The Coach, I think is what it's called. No, I would say Blazing Saddles could be made today.
Oh, but, definitely not.
The one where Woody Harrelson got nailed for DUI and he had to he got kicked out of the NBA coaching and he ends up doing community service coaching.
White Men Can't Jump.
No, it's new, not that one. I think it's called The Coach, and it was really good, really good. Now it's not quite what The Ringer was, but it wasn't meant to be. The Ringer was kind of. I don't know. In the right way, it can be made today. That should be a question. I'll put that down as a potential question of the week. What
great movies that couldn't be made today
get made today versus maybe it could?
Oh, there's a classic one, Revenge of the Nerds. You have to change it so much, because it just, there's a lot in that movie that just cannot be made. Like I said, they would have to make it. Well, I was talking with somebody about it. You'd almost have to make the jocks the nerds, because nerds are held in a different light than they used to.
Revenge of the Jocks. Do a spoof on it. Revenge of the Jocks. They're getting made fun of for being idiots.
Yeah.
Revenge at a band camp.
Oh man.
Roll that dice.
Roll that dice.
Nope, I'm vetoing that one. We're gonna skip it to the next one. All right, there we go. This is fine. Not that you'll like it, Charles.
Roll that dice.
Dad jokes.
Veto to the dad joke. Great.
The first one that I rolled was a 5, which is the commercial break. We just started. I vetoed it.
But the follow up is not great. It's kind of like the new Speaker of the House. We vetoed the first one. The follow up was not that great.
The material I was given was from your kid, so you can blame him for whether it's great or not.
That's all right. I'll take the belt to him later. Don't worry about it.
Oh.
No, Daddy, no. What did I do?
You wrote some stupid jokes for my show is what you did.
And that's how the podcast got canceled.
Did you hear about the man who lost the left side of his body?
No.
The doctor said he was all right. The nurse said there wasn't much left.
No, the joke's over. The joke's over. We don't keep going.
Saw that coming a mile away.
Not how you don't get to stack them up on the jokes.
There wasn't much left.
Oh my God.
I had to finish reading.
Yeah. Oh, is it in your contract?
Yep.
So I'm going to cleanse my palate for a second. Go talk to our people that I like who aren't sending in bad dad jokes. So,
So you're not going to talk to your son? That's what you're saying?
no, I told you I was take the belt to him. So, Kurt, stop cringing.
Well, no, it's you said you were going to say something about your son. I was going to say something about my son too. So go ahead.
No, I was going to say something about getting away from
No.
bad dad jokes and going on
Oh.
to the question of the week for next week.
Oh, all right. Well, that's
Nobody
all right.
wants to hear about your son. So
That's okay.
we do a question of the week every week, and we then post it as a question of the week to the audience on Patreon, right? So if you listen to the show through, not Patreon, I'm sorry, Spotify. I always get this mixed up. I'm looking dead at it, Joe. I'm looking dead at it. It says podcasters.spotify.com. So my brain keeps trying to say Patreon. See, I didn't stutter. But you heard it in your head, didn't you? So, all right.
Patreon.
What? So last week we said
Patreon,
What
boys.
Kurt, help me here. What's the
Donate to your
healthiest-
daddy. Patreon.com/wise and nerdy.
You know what? For the new year, we're going to be re-racking that thing. And we might get Joe to finally plug in the 3D printer, because how fun would it be to print off little plaques with the bad dad jokes on them or stuff, or little things to send out for people. But that's not what I'm talking about. What I tried to talk about here is if you're on Spotify and listen to the podcast, you can answer the question of the week yourself. And last week we asked, what's the healthiest food you love and what's the junkiest food you love? And the number one fan of the show, Divakate, wrote in and said, I love me some steamed, I'm reading it verbatim, I love me some steamed vegetables about any kind. On the not so healthy side, I mourned when McDonald's stopped frying their cherry pies. That explains a lot about how you're writing this. I then discovered Whataburger and still deep fry. They still deep fry. Oh my God, I can't read this. I then discovered Whataburger still deep fries their pies.
Oh, there's a barbecue place near here that has deep fried pies. They're real good.
I'm not gonna lie, I do like a good fried pie. I like that.
Yeah.
You know, Krispy Kreme makes them for the grocery stores. You can get the little Krispy Kreme minis. They're so good.
Yeah, the McDonald's apple pie, not the cherry pie. That's lame. But the apple, but the apple pie, when they changed that to be more baked or whatever it was that they did, that was a dang shame, because that was a very special molten pocket of goodness. Yeah, I can't even believe they did that. And they didn't, like, they don't ever even bring it back for like this nostalgia thing.
Right.
But they'll bring back the McRib.
Yes, we were thinking about the same thing. Which I'll be honest with you, Kurt, not ever in my life have I tasted or touched a McRib.
Neither have I.
Tasted it, but I don't care for it.
Roll that dice.
Daddy, can you tell me a story?
Ah, story time. Let me tell you a little story about
A man named Jed.
how I learned to drive a stick shift. Way back in the before times, circa 1984. I was a young lad working part-time in the summers for the
go. Wake me up when it's done, Joe.
for the telephone company. And at the telephone company, they only had stick shifts on the big old line trucks. You know, the ones with the giant spools of cables on the back?
Yes.
So they said, well, you have to learn how to drive a stick shift. So they put me in one of those, and I knew conceptually how to do it. And this is going to be a little visual for people who are listening, so which means you really need to come watch the show. But start up the truck, and this is probably, I don't know, a 10-ton truck or something. Start up the truck and push in the gas, let up off the clutch, and proceed to go ka-chunk, 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 ka-chunk. And no control, and they're laughing and laughing until they finally got to the point where I kind of learned how to drive it enough to get onto the job site. And then the next summer, they gave me an old Chevy Chevette to go to different jobs on. Also, only a stick shift. Well, that's when Kurt learned how to pop the clutch. And so I'm working, going from job site to job site, and I'm tooling around these back roads in my hometown. And well, because I was 17 years old, I pop the clutch, peel out, go flying down the road, lose control of the car, run it right through a split rail fence and pinned it between two trees. Kurt totaled the car. And somebody comes flying out of their house going, "Oh my God, are you okay?" And the first words out of my mouth were, "Did you see those guys?"
What guys?
The made-up guys in the white pickup truck with three guys standing in the bed that was speeding on the wrong side of the road.
Three guys standing in the bed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, see, the cops don't even believe you, Kurt. I hear they're right behind you.
Yeah. So that saved me from tickets, an arrest, and I kept that secret from my parents for 25 years. Yeah. Oh, I lost my job. No, because I totaled the company car. Yeah. And the only reason I lost that job was because as a temporary employee during the summer, the union didn't require me to go through a driver safety class. But if I was a full-time employee, I would have kept my job and gone through the driver safety class.
Damn unions.
But I learned how to drive a stick.
My dad was going to be gone out of town for something, and I had been driving. We had a stick shift car and an automatic, and I guess he was taking the automatic out of town for a conference or something. And I just remember he spent a week. That's it, a week, and we lived on the church grounds, so there's literally a softball field as my backyard. So we took the car out there. It's very flat and open, and was trying to teach me, Kurt, like you were alluding to, you ease the clutch off and put the gas on, and and we spent a few hours at most through that week, because my dad and I don't communicate very well, and he's not a great teacher at all, and it just wasn't working. But I had to make it work, because I had to get to work while he was going to be gone, and that was the only other car. And my mom didn't want to drive me to work every day and drop me off or whatever. And so I was driving to work, and it wasn't great. It's kind of like you're talking about, just enough to get it going and get to the work and whatever. God forbid if there was a hill, I pray to Jesus nobody stopped behind me, right? If I was stopped. And so one day, this girl I worked with at the grocery store. I worked 5 minutes from the house, so it wasn't that dangerous. And we went on our lunch break together or whatever, and was trying to go down the street to Wendy's. And I was embarrassed to drive with her, so I was like, "Hey, do you drive a stick?" She's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "You want to drive?" I don't remember how I talked her into it, but she drove to Wendy's, and then she's like, "You drive a stick? What was it?" I was like, "Yeah, I don't really know how to do it right." And that's when she told me, Kurt, except I'll tell you what the car was in a second. It was not a Chevelle that would just peel rubber, or Chevette or whatever it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, she told me, you start let it out and then floor it, and then let go of the clutch, and then and then once you get that down, you'll actually bring it in. Within a few days, I was good. I was great. And she just told me that, and it just got me past it, because my dad taught me not really fear, but you gotta be careful and you gotta be worried about this and that. And she was just like, "Bang it, baby." And so I did, and off we went. Joe, you look like, do you drive a stick shift? You don't look like the kind of guy who even knows what we're talking. Oh, by the way, that was an 81 Nissan Sentra, Kurt, with leather, or not leather, but the plastic seats, and the dashboard was all cracked and the radio didn't work. And yeah. But Joe, what do you got?
I've only driven a stick shift once, and it was when my dad was teaching me. I was maybe 14 or 15, and he had a 1986 Pontiac Firebird, a black one with the T-tops. And I drove it for maybe 20 minutes, and
That's it.
I did okay-ish for a first time. At least I feel like I did. But yeah, that was the only time I've ever driven a stick.
A T-top Firebird, you make every excuse you can to keep driving that car.
Right, Joe?
So yeah, it was a sweet little car. We ended up giving it to my uncle, who killed it within 6 months because he didn't change the oil and drove it cross country and back. So
Devo says, I learned to drive stick in a 1967 Ford wagon with 3 on the tree.
Wow.
And yes, Devo, I know what that means. Joe, do you know what that means without looking at his comment?
sure don't.
It's a stick shift on the steering column.
Oh, okay.
4 on the floor, right? 3 on the tree.
Yep.
But yeah, it's just a 6 shift on the steering. Mine was never there.
Mine was never there either. Mine was always on the floor.
Yeah. But Steve says that's a sad story. Now, I don't think it's at one point it was definitely a sign of manhood that you could drive a stick shift, and if you couldn't, you were less of a man. I definitely don't think that. And for a very long time, I actually purchased stick shift vehicles because it kept me more active in driving. When it gave me something to do right when I was driving.
I think it's exceptionally rare for any generation past mine to know how to drive a stick shift.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So, I mean, unless you go out of your way to specifically request a stick shift when you're buying it, most of the models that you find are going to be automatic. So
No, yeah, you have to order it specific nowadays, and even then, most of them will tell you, "No, we're not going to do that." Because why? Why would you go back to a rotary phone when we can have a cell phone?
There's better control, and for those of us who live in places with weather, it does give you a better, finer control, like when you're driving in the snow and things like that.
You can still do that in my car. I just put it down
you can't.
low, and then I can digitally shift the gears.
Low is just a conspiracy by the big car manufacturers.
I
like to do my gears. Here's how I shift gears, Kurt. Sorry, Joe. Here's how I shift gears. Up, up, down, down, left, right, honk, honk, start.
what are the button gear shifts called? Because I have driven a couple of those.
Paddle shifters.
That's what they're called? Just paddle shifters, where you don't actually have a clutch. You just push the button and it shifts up.
Oh,
I've seen that.
I've
seen that. I know he's talking about. It was
a Mazda.
Very popular.
Yeah, I drove a Mazda that was like that, where you could put it into like semi-manual, but it was still mostly automatic, where it shifted up and down gears based on you pushing a button up or down.
Well,
like it was just a button. It wasn't actually moving the stick or anything.
Right. And that's kind of a racing thing. Like they make, they're selling, it's like the Humvee, right? Selling street dudes military vehicle. That I think it's kind of Diva says fake shift, but I think it's paddle shifters. I've heard of it. I've heard where you could do that yourself, but yeah, there's no actual clutch. It's still kind of automated for you.
Well, if you listen to the car, like if you got really used to it, you could listen to the car and know when you could shift out without hitting the clutch. But
that you messed that up, man.
Yeah,
that's not a good day.
Yeah.
So I like riding my motorcycle shift. I like shifting on that. I got double clutching. Yeah, not on a bike. You don't ever. Well, I don't know about those crotch rockets, but you definitely on the street cruisers like I have. You don't double clutch. But I did that. I tried I did once. Okay, not gonna lie. When Fast and Furious came out, that's when I learned about double clutching and not granny shifting. And I tried on that the 81 Nissan or Datsun, not Nissan, Datsun station wagon. Yeah, it was not good. I was never good at it. It means you're one with your car. I guess I wasn't, because I wasn't good at that.
Roll that dice.
Fine, Kurt. We won't tell you more stories then.
Good.
Can you dig it?
Now, can you dig it is what do you think about now? The Funk's your brother. So, Joe, you said this. Well, you took away the one that we've waited 2 years to talk about and threw it away. So, go ahead. What's hot on your mind?
What do you think about using Chat GPT for your job?
I think it depends, because everybody's going to come out and say whatever they're going to say. Everybody has a reason to not do something. As a paramedic, I'm not really going to let ChatGPT try to figure out the dosage. Actually, you know what, though? I bet you it can figure out the dosage pretty quickly.
I wouldn't trust it. So I heard of some lawyers who let Chat GPT write their...
you gotta add it. You gotta add it. It cited a case that wasn't real. Kurt, how much you weigh?
Yep. It did cite a case that wasn't real. But I actually used Chat GPT this you're asking how much he weighs so you can tell him what his dosage should be?
Yeah, just
using
Chat
GPT.
I'm going, what are you talking about?
Give me your weight. What's your weight?
226.
All right, carry on, Joe.
So I actually used Chat GPT this past week to help me with work. So I was tasked with creating a new PowerShell script, which isn't all that involved. It's relatively basic, but I've never written in PowerShell before, so I don't know the syntax. And so I typed into ChatGPT some of the different functions that I needed for this script, and copy paste adjust. And after doing that 4 or 5 times, I had a working script that did what I needed it to do. We didn't need it to do like anything super complex. It's a script that we're going to run. Basically, the only time we'd ever need to run it is when we migrate data from one server to another. And so we had done that recently within the past 3 months, and we didn't realize that there was going to be an issue with it because when they migrated the data over, the creation timestamp on the folders was when they brought the data over that day. But we have a purge set up that gets rid of data that's over 6 months old, but it bases that purge on the creation date of the folder. And so my script just went through and made it so that the creation date, it changed it on all of those folders to what it actually should have been. Because luckily, all of those folders, the folder names, because they're auto-generated, is literally just the date. And so I using ChatGPT and whatnot, I was able to knock that out within a few hours and fix that issue, because we were running out of memory on a couple of our servers because it wasn't purging old stuff properly. And so I like you said, Charles, I think it's a good tool as long as you are paying attention and have some knowledge to be able to know when it's giving you junk, because it definitely gives you junk and you definitely need to double check whatever it gives you. So, because there were a couple of iterations when I was doing that where I was like, yeah, that's not the right syntax at all. I can tell just from not syntax, but that's not the right logic at all. That's not going to do what I asked it to do.
Right.
And so I had to narrow it down, ask it in a slightly different manner to get the output that I was needing. But yeah, I think it's just another tool. It's all in how you use it.
I agree. So it didn't give me the dosage. I went with dopamine. Dopamine is notoriously difficult to calculate in your head as a paramedic. When I first was in paramedic school, I memorized this thing called the clock method, and I could get your weight, figure out the kilograms, and do the math real quick and get the correct dosage because it's per kilogram per minute kind of thing. And when I put that in to ChatGPT just now, it's like, well, I'm not a doctor, but I could tell you a few things about it, and basically just gave me what it did and different things like that. So, okay, so cool. There's some safety measures there, because you're right. I've heard a lot of people use it to troubleshoot pieces of code or get past some basics. I use it 1,000% of the time. And you reminded me, I forgot to do it today because I was busy doing other stuff, but I need to crack out a policy for work based on some bad behaviors today. And that's what I do. I jump in at Chat GPT and it's like, hey, we need a policy on dating in the office, and here's the bullet points. And I'm like, okay, Chat GPT, please write me a policy based on on these ideas. And it will, if you put in your company name as well, it'll like just format it and everything. And sometimes, like I give it like very specific instructions as a paragraph. It takes almost my exact words, but makes them look better in formatting, even if it doesn't change them. So for writing basic documents, policies that you still have to read and edit and make sure it's right, I think it's fantastic, and I'm glad to hear. I mean, if you had to do that by hand, you still said it took you a couple of hours with its help. How much longer would it have been?
Having never done any of it, it probably would have taken me an additional couple of hours, probably.
Well, I know for me, because I used to have to go find policies from other companies, read it, make sure it's close enough to what I wanted, copy it, paste it into a document, edit what I wanted, rethink about the new wording and this and that, and just chat BT. I mean, it really has. I think you just said it saved you a couple of hours. It saved me hours of work. Absolutely.
Yeah. The way that I've used it is pretty similar to Joe. But because we do a lot of IT work, and I have a number of issues that on any given occasion, a tech has worked on it for a while, but just can't crack it. Like just can't get to the root cause of the issue. So I'll use Chat GPT to basically say, this is what we're seeing. This is what we've tried, blah, 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 blah. And it may come up with a new idea, may not, but it gives me the ability to go back to the tech and say, hey, have you tried this? And then sometimes, like again, with the scripting thing, I've done exactly what you're talking about, Joe. I've had a problem that I needed to solve, like let's say it's a group policy that I needed to get the syntax right on. I just go in and say, I need a group policy for this Windows Server operating system that will force drive mapping, for lack of a, I don't know, whatever it is. And so can you write me a PowerShell script that does that? And it will print it. It'll put out the output on it, and then I can just hand it over to the tech and go, look, I'm not saying this is going to work, but this might be a good starting point for you. And yeah, it can save time. But again, the good output is very dependent on the good input.
Yep.
I've been trying to. You may have seen some of the pictures that I generated using because Bing has DALL-E built into it now, and so I've been trying to generate specific types of pictures, but man, it's very prompt dependent.
Like the six-fingered Charles.
Yeah. Mid-Journey, the prompts, I'm not good at doing the prompt. I mean, 'cause I'm in the regular Mid-Journey Discord, and it's like, oh, and they put in these prompts, and it's coming up with this gorgeous art. And I've gotten okay to get to a certain close style that we use for our cover art for this show, but it can be very difficult to do that kind of thing. Also, by the way, I don't know if you guys can do it, but StreamYard just launched a new feature that says you can mark things and go back and find it. So I just hit B on my keyboard and it just marked this moment so we could go back and maybe cut out some of that and post it on social media.
Cool.
But yeah, the prompts are everything, and words are a whole lot easier. I can really dial it in on the words. Like, don't write it in that tone, write it in this tone. Okay, and it spits it back out in a different format. The art, I find that sometimes I can dial it in, but just as often, the more I try to dial it in, the more it goes crazy left field. I just have to quit.
It's the prompting end of things is going to be we talk about coders for people that are writing programming code. Prompting is just another way of writing code. It's just different. It's a higher level language, but you still need to be really good at it to get what you want.
Well, I mean, half of coding is knowing what to Google, to be completely honest. And because
like GitHub and that kind of thing, yeah.
well, not only that, but you aren't going to memorize every single syntax and have it available. You Google the syntax, because at least for me, because I'm not working in one single language all the time. Now, my previous job, primarily I was Java, but I wasn't always Java. And so whenever there's something that I'm like, okay, I don't quite remember the syntax exactly, you just Google it real quick. And as long as you know what to Google and you're able to see what results you think will be the most likely to give you it, it's pretty quick. Or being able to reference other bits of your own code where you've already done that and be like, okay, bloop, let me just look at that. All right, I'll just copy this, bring it over here, switch it around a little bit. Bam, that does what I need it to do. And so you, as you're building up your source code, you're also building up a repertoire of little code snippets that you can use in other sections of your code. And so, yeah, that's how coding is.
Certainly nowadays.
Exactly what DivaSite said. All good coders have libraries.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
And that's a question I put in for the question of the week sometime in the future is, or no, not a question of the week, on the how do I, how do I you learn to be a coder? But that'll be for another time, because
roll that dice.
All right.
Donate to your
Wrong
daddy.
one.
yes, donate to your
Time for a commercial break.
Haha, I set it up now so I can push the button again and it cancels it out. So it doesn't just keep going.
not my favorite part of the show here, but we're gonna try this.
That's okay. I've got it.
Donate to your daddy. Patreon.com/wise and nerdy.
All right, I'll take that one. Don't do it, Joe. See you.
Patreon.com/wise and nerdy. Nerds.
So, what
Call
you
your
did?
daddy and leave a voicemail. wiseandnerdy.com/call
I
dad.
had it, Kurt. I had a nice smooth coming back into the show thing, and you just know. You just know right all over it. You know what you get for being a patron? We're coming with a lot of awesome stuff, but if you get the uncut version of this, which is 20 to 30 minutes before the show, and then a good 20 to 30 minutes after the show of stories and prep and inside baseball and other fun stuff. The other thing you get to do is come be a part of our Discord, and we're actually looking at ways to make Discord free as well, and just have different rooms and different things. You get to do stuff like in our Discord. You get to do stuff like our watch along that we're doing this month, where we're going to be watching Batman: Mask of the Phantasm together in our Discord, and then later talking about it on the show. And we're story time. Kurt will read your kids a bedtime story for the $5 level. And you know what? If you ask for it as a patron, even at the $1 level, I'll read Go the F to Sleep for you. So you can make it censored, and I'll make it as funny as I can, or you can make it uncensored. Actually, if you make it censored, I'll get Joe to censor me with stuff he said, like "oh man" and whatnot. Anyway,
oh man,
you get a lot of cool stuff, and you get to be hanging out with us in the Council of Dads over there. So check that out. But you know what else we like people to do? Call your dad. And we have 4 speak pipes tonight to play. So none of these were from Mook Woodard. So hopefully we're
Have a
maybe he got the
nerdy
hint.
day.
your kids, man. Your kids are smelling toast like Mike. That's all I'm saying.
I was listening to Spectacular,
Daddy!
and Joe, when you're talking about going to see The Ring, you say 20 kids and counting. And it sounded like for a moment you said 20 kids and county. Thinking, wow, you must have been some real ruffians growing up.
All right, here's number 2.
Big kudos to Kurt for mentioning the One Piece. That was really good. My son and I watched it together and had a great time watching it. It's one of those moments that you have with your kids, especially as they get older. You kind of begin, missing far and few between. He's working. He's got school. I work. All those things that just kind of get in your way. And that's just one of those good times that can make that time to have that. And I really did enjoy it. And you're right, it was excellent, ridiculous, funny, and exciting in all the right measure. So I do recommend it. Thanks, man.
Sweet.
Nailed one finally, Kurt.
Finally.
Here's your bad Uncle Devakate joke.
Uh-oh.
What's the first thing you know? Old Jed's a millionaire.
What?
I don't get it.
It's the Beverly Hillbillies.
What's the first thing you know? Jed's a millionaire.
I try to remember how the song goes.
No, it's well, first thing you know, old Jed's a millionaire. Kinfolk say, Jed, move away from there. Said California is a place you ought to be. So he loaded up the bus and he moved to Beverly Hills, that is. Swimming pools, movie stars. But I don't
never
understand the
watched the
question.
Beverly Hillbillies.
Well, here's one more.
Charles,
Wait, Kurt, did he just say he's never watched the Beverly Hillbillies?
He did
I
say that.
did say that.
You didn't even watch that terrible movie that came out?
So you got to remember,
No,
you're 10 years
I don't.
older than me, and Kurt's like 70 years older than
me. It was in black and white reruns when I was a kid.
Me
man.
too.
I grew up
Me
with
too. It wasn't a current
What?
show.
Come on.
Yeah, well, it becomes less and less Kurt.
Well, you need to get on YouTube or wherever you can stream it and watch it with your kids. It is a Joe kind of show.
Well,
kind of
sorry,
is.
I was busy watching Thundercats. Oh,
Okay, so just to put it in terms you'll understand, Joe, it's a dysfunctional Waltons.
He never watched that either.
is that the one where they all say goodnight at the end?
It is.
7's okay. 9's too much,
My older-
8's enough.
My older sisters watched the Waltons. I didn't really watch the Waltons.
right, here we go.
So sad.
Charles,
Yeah.
I'm listening to your voice in your Patreon. And, I've just been listening to it, and it sounds pretty rough. I know, but it finally hit me. I know what it sounds like. Sling Blade. Man, I'm just waiting for you any moment to say, those men taters. Or you leave that boy alone. Whatever. I mean, Sling Blade, man. You are Sling Blade. Or the Adam Sandler, that crazy cross-eyed dude that shows.
Yep.
But yeah, Sling Blade.
There you go. Get over there. So, Joe, Sling Blade was this movie by Billy Bob Thornton about this brain image kind of dude who liked to cut grass and eat mustard, and he was not treated well by society.
All right.
And that's going to be a new segment, Kurt. We're going to explain every movie to Joe because apparently he's not watched half of it.
Okay.
Roll that dice.
Roll that dice.
Gotta roll that again. All right. That one's good.
What are you nerding out about now?
I want to hear from Kurt because Joe and I have talked Kurt into watching Demon Slayer, and he is very resistant to this change.
Okay.
But
Well, he's resistant to anime in general.
We're going to go for the Stockholm syndrome with this dude. But what do you got for us this week, Kurt? And
Okay.
Kurt
All right.
Slayer.
All right. So here's the thing. One of my biggest issues is the over-the-top reactions in most anime. And it still drives me crazy. However, I'm not watching Demon Slayer every day, multiple episodes. I'm slow rolling it. But I'm about 4 or 5 episodes in to season 1. And I'm digging it so far.
Good.
and partially because there were big gaps of time where it wasn't over the top. It was simply storytelling.
Right.
And I can appreciate that, and I like it. I still have a hard time with the concept because how is this not a vampire story? Because the demons, as described, are basically vampires.
But they consume more than just blood. They consume the flesh too.
Okay,
But it's true. They
we're
are
picking nits
they
a little
are
bit.
averse to
Sunlight.
sunlight.
Yeah,
Um,
they can shapeshift.
some of them.
Yeah. That is one of the unique things, right? Is that the demons have different abilities.
Very different.
Yeah.
Um,
So I dig it. I dig it. I find the concept of dragging his sister around in a box interesting.
well, she can't be out in the sun.
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah. So yeah. I'm liking it so far. I want to see. Here's what I don't know yet, and I'm a little worried because how many seasons in is this show?
4 ish.
So
3.
Yeah,
I
something
guess,
like
I
that.
guess it's technically 3, but season 2 really is 2 seasons. I don't care who tells
Okay.
me. It's
season
really
Alright.
1's 2 seasons.
season
one's
one's
got
26 episodes. Yeah.
But they
Yeah.
really, you'll feel it, Kurt. It's like episode 14 to 18, somewhere in there. You'll feel a natural end to the show, then realize there's like a dozen more episodes. It's because they made 3 or 4 mini movies, and then they cut them into episodes, and that made it up to 26.
Gotcha. So I
yeah,
have concerns.
Okay, tell us your concerns.
So my concern is that, and look, spoilers for anybody listening, and I don't care. So,
well, you're only a few episodes in. It'll be all right.
right. So the whole point is, dude's trying to find a cure for his sister's demonic
Demonology. Yeah.
transmogrification, or basically trying to undo the demon, right? I'm concerned that I'm going to get 4 seasons in and that's not going to be dealt with. Yeah, I know.
Joe,
I don't care. I don't care if you say it or not. It doesn't affect me because just like spoilers don't affect me, because I'm more interested in how we get there, not what the end result is. So
I don't think you're going to be
they
disappointed.
They bring it up multiple times. It's not something that they just forget about or anything like that.
I'm not worried about forgetting. I'm worried about we're 4 seasons in and it's still not dealt with. Like, we're still looking for a cure.
So
well, at the end of season 4, he wakes up and it's all a dream. So
sweet.
There is bits of progress along the way. I'll just say it that way.
Okay. Yeah. After 4 seasons, he wakes up and he finds out that his real name is Xander, and he's been dreaming in Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Okay, you would still enjoy that. I would still enjoy that.
I would. I'd be a little annoyed, but I think it'd be fun. So yeah, no, I'm going to keep going.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer was a very popular
Buffy
show.
the Vampire Slayer and the offshoot Angel. Okay, and the old movie.
Yeah,
older.
One of the very few times where a TV series was way better than the movie ever was.
That's true.
Fair. The movie was great. The movie is pretty good.
Yeah, it was all right.
The movie is okay.
Paul Rubens.
Scenery. Yes, and that was like the best part of the movie.
I liked Angel better than the Buffy series anyway. So there's that.
Anyway, so disappointed. I guess it's my turn. So I'm very into this Yamazaki Japanese whiskey. Because there's so many crazy variations on it. But I was at a restaurant in Macon a couple weeks ago, and they had this on the menu. They had 3 Japanese whiskeys, so I tried all 3 of them, and this was the last one. And man, it was the smoothest, tastiest whiskey I've ever had. It was really good. Turns out it's very expensive. So I mean, it does range. I mean, there's some affordable bottles in my range for sure, but it's definitely a higher end Japanese whiskey. But I heard I was listening to Smartless today, which I love that show, and they asked their guest like what's something cool somebody could bring you, like a drink or because they found out she made drinks or whatever, and like what's something if somebody wanted to give you a gift, what bottle? And my mind instantly went to this, and this is where, if you watch the live stream, you're gonna see some field trip in here. We're a field trip right over here.
That's some pretty expensive whiskey.
Well, this is the special Yamazaki 55-year-old whiskey. I don't believe this is the one I had, but it's $1,000 for the bottle. I've seen it upwards of 12 or 1,400.
$1,000 for the bottle? That says $950,000.
My bad. Yeah, that one.
Yeah, I don't think you have that one.
You really want to give me a gift? I mean, go with the Yamazaki 55.
And then I'll turn around and sell it and buy a new house.
I was going to say that's probably more like $1,000 for a shot, but
here you go. The 18,
it's way more than that.
No, the 18 is the $1,000 bottle. And I believe I had either the 18 or the 12 because it was $50 for 3 ounces, but it was one of the best drinks I've ever had. So Joe, just I mean, this is Daddy's website right here. You come and get Daddy something fun off here any day you want. But yeah, the Yamazaki, it was a great experience and a lot of fun there. And then I just want to try this one. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right, but it's a Suntory whiskey. The Hibiki. Thank you. You sound like you said it right. Say it again.
Hibiki.
There you go. There's only one reason I want to try this one. Not because it's $1,500, but because Keanu Reeves does a 4-part documentary with them on the history of it and the culture and how they. And so I haven't even watched the documentary yet, but I say Keanu drinks. I want to try this because he's the reason I eat noodles. So might as well try his whiskey.
Keanu seems like a pretty stand-up guy.
Yeah.
Honestly, he really does. He really does. And then, Joe, we all know I dig the Slurpees, but I finally got around to testing out the speedways in Georgia. And I happened to be just north of Atlanta. We went to the Tellus Museum last week, and that's 20 minutes south of a Buc-ee's. And so Hugh was here visiting, and he had never been to Buc-ee's. So hey, let's take you up to there.
Gotta go to Buc-ee's.
It's overhyped, but it's okay. It's overhyped. Yes, it is, Kurt. It's a Walmart of gas stations, and that's not the best thing. Anyway, but yeah, right next to the Tellus Museum was a Speedway, but the closest 7-Eleven was still an hour north up in Chattanooga. Actually, it was in Ringgold, right outside Chattanooga. So I did. I went, dude, that Speedway had way better Slurpees. Like they had 2 4-bangers. So they had 8 different flavors out there, including Sprite, which my wife got and fell in love with. The Mountain Dew, what's the one you like? Not the Code Red, the dark.
The Voltage?
Is it Voltage? I thought it was maybe maybe it wasn't the Voltage in. It was, but they have a Mountain Dew like After Dark or whatever, I think. But it was the grape one. Frozen. Yeah, it wasn't
Mountain
frozen.
Dew After Dark.
That one's pretty good.
So, but yeah, I was very excited, man. They had a lot of them. Where sometimes you and I both have stopped at ones that barely had any Slurpees running, much less 8 of them. So, Joe's never been to Buc-ee's. It's
true,
hyped, but it is in between you and I. So next time you come this way, stop there for 20 minutes.
At least 20 minutes.
I have, however, been to the Tellus Museum. We had a membership to it, a year membership to it. So we went, 4 or 5 times last year.
Yeah, it's kind of halfway between us. So it's not that big of a drive for either one of us to do that one.
Yeah.
So, well, now you know, Joe, that literally less than 2 miles down the road, straight down the road from Tellus, is a Speedway, and you can get your Slurpees before you go home.
Get my slurp on.
Yes, sir. So that's not what you're nerding out about, though. Well, kind of it is.
No. So back to anime. My wife actually recommended an anime to me, one that she had watched her on her own of her own volition. I might be the first anime that she's ever watched on her own without since we've been married, without me saying that she should. Called Romantic Killer. It's on Netflix. And so she was like, "Hey, you should watch this. It is funny." And I was like, "Okay." I had heard of it before. And so it is so goofy, completely goofy. It's about this high school student and a random genie-esque fluff ball is sent to her, and from whatever society it is, and is tasked with getting her a boyfriend, basically. That there's not enough love in Japan, and so she needs to get a boyfriend. And so this creature uses its magic to put her in all kinds of situations, very cliche situations, to foster romance, and even goes as far as to take away her three greatest desires, which are chocolate, video games, and her cat. So takes those away from her, and whenever she tries to either play video games or eat chocolate or whatever, she gets prevented from consuming those because of magic. But yeah, it is ridiculous and funny, and it's, I think, like 12 or 13 episodes. It was pretty good. I laughed a lot. So it just completely absurd. So,
and what was the name of that again?
Romantic Killer.
Oh, that was Charles's nickname in high school.
For the same premise. I needed to find a boyfriend, and there was no love to be found.
Yeah, well, so she is dead set against it and is refusing to get paired off with anybody, and so she is actively avoiding the romantic situations. So it's an interesting paradigm between being forced into the situations, and then she goes out of her way to make herself look frumpy and stuff like that. So
like Charles. Yeah.
At one point I was having to get the firefighters to get the hotties away from me, so I had to fluff it up a little bit and dumb it down so they wouldn't come flocking to me like Pepe Le Pew.
Yeah, and it's on Netflix, so that's where we watched it. Dun, dun. But
so
yeah, it was a fun little short one, and it was a good laugh. So
cool. Would you think, because Zoe's watched Demon Slayer, you think she would enjoy that? I kind of, that's my only point of reference, so kind of related to Demon Slayer.
It is not at all like Demon Slayer. I have no idea. I don't know what your daughter's tastes are in shows, so you can try it with her and find out. It is hilarious. Like, have you ever heard of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure?
I've heard of it, yes.
Okay, well, the gal occasionally like morphs into a JoJo, like a bodybuilder, like, I will not give into this situation. It's funny. That's all. Anyway, you'll see.
That's okay.
It's hilarious.
That's really random.
It is random. Like it is a super random show, but it's funny.
Well, hopefully, something that's not so random is code. And I'll tell you a short little story for all this. But Ryland, my middle child, he is turning 12 this week. And over the last year or two, his papa has gotten him interested in code. He uses a site called Scratch. And he's been learning the code. And so I found some classes through his homeschooling group. We do a powered homeschool online. Celis is who runs that. And they had some actual coding classes. So it was kind of like Scratch. It uses jars and what if statements and this, that, and the other. And so Hugh is always interested in teaching people Linux and putting on Linux on everything. And he experiments to see what he can get on. He loves Linux. And he came this week and he always brings a flash drive. And I was like, hey, I told Ryland's been getting more and more and more into coding. Maybe you can set up one of these old laptops I have on Linux and then show him all that. And he did. And so I lost Hugh for 2 nights. Like I had him Friday night, Saturday night, we were outside, hanging out and by the fire pit and doing our thing. And then Sunday night, we get back from doing the little field trip with whatever I just said about Buc-ee's and all that. That's it. We went to Buc-ee's. Tell us. Joe, I couldn't think of tell us. We just said it 15 times. So anyway, we get back. He puts it on that night and then shows Ryland. And then the next 3 nights, I don't have him. He's just done. So my how do I question is, how do I find beginner coding places? Because Ryland did go to, it's spelled out all in words, C++. And he tried to register because he's learning that there's more to code, right? There's languages and this and that and the other. But C++ keeps trying to send an email to first. I went to my main account, and then I also had him register with my work account, knowing both of those emails work very well. We're not getting the registration email, so he can't get in. So
you don't need to register to get C++ on your computer.
No, it's a site. It's like C plus the word plus.com is what he was trying to sign up for. So if you will tell me things that I can do on the web or Linux that will teach him this stuff, I'm down.
So
depending on how, I'm asking the question.
Yeah, depending on how basic you want to get, there is a company called Canakit or Canakit, C-A-N-A Kit, and they actually sell, I mean, you probably wouldn't need this, but for other people who kind of want the kids to have their own thing, they sell little Raspberry Pi kits, which are just little computers, but they have a version. They have a version that they sell that has little coding workbooks that come with it. And so you could look into getting those little workbooks. But really, if you could even just chat GPT, like we were saying before, the first program that you always make is just hello world.
Yep.
And so whatever language he's wanting to learn.
Okay, but yeah. So he has Linux and Scratch is a website. So how do you have to have a program to do code? How do you start using this language?
So there are websites that will let you do code directly on the website. Like a great resource is w3schools.com, where you can actually go.
So hard.
Where you can actually go and write little code snippets, and you can there's buttons on, like you go to the different areas and just say try it yourself. And like here, I just linked one in chat for their Java one, w3schools.com/Java, and you can write the code there and click run, and it will run the program for you and output it off to the side. So it was being real slow just now for me, but that W3 Schools is an excellent resource. They have Java tutorials, they have HTML, CSS, JavaScript, SQL, Python, PHP. They have a whole lot of stuff on here. They do have C++ on here as well. So yeah, a lot of great. Like, W3 Schools is a great resource in general. So
I like the website as well that I've seen in the past, which was Codecademy. And I linked that in chat, or at least in our chat, in the StreamYard chat. Scratch has been around forever. My kids use Scratch in school.
Okay.
So it's got some longevity to it. And that's more to learn the coding concepts at a very high level, which is good.
Because isn't Scratch where you take already pre-written code snippets and put it together like a puzzle?
Kind of.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's statement jars, basically. It says like on click, turn blank degrees. And you say turn left and you can mark 90 degrees. and then there'll be another little jar behind it. It just keeps doing little actions, and behind those actions are all the codes. But yeah, it's just little graphical jars, basically.
Ironically, it's very, very much object oriented in a visual sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you're wanting to go into more complex stuff, there's plenty of like digital classes that you could take, but you can find a ton of tutorials on YouTube, which doesn't require you to sign up for those classes. There's a ton of stuff that you can find on YouTube to learn how to code. So,
Okay.
I mean, when I first started working where I currently work, there was a woman that sat across the cube from me that she was a programmer just like I was, but her degree was in library science. But she decided she wanted to learn how to code and become a coder, and so she was basically completely self-taught. I don't know how she ended up convincing them to give her the job in the first place, but it worked, and she did adequate work. So.
Okay. Well, you guys will appreciate this. One of the things you do on Linux, Hugh was really going on and on about this thing you can put in. It's called Awesome Tabs or something like that.
Yes.
Okay, so you're familiar with it.
I am.
So he's like, yeah, auto makes it part of the screen, and you shape your screen and all this other stuff. So instantly, that's the first thing. I see. Got it loaded and they're using Mint, by the way, if that's important to some of you geeks out there. But once he got it loaded and everything else, he put in Awesome, and then he was teaching Riley how to go into the what's it called? It's the area you did the code on the terminal. You go into the terminal, right? And he was teaching him how you type this in, this and that. And so the guy running to where he had a YouTube video running on one side of the screen, much like our screen separated here on Twitch and StreamYard, is you had a YouTube video running on one side talking about how he did this thing with awesome screens, and then the terminal on the next side. So the more and more he learned, at some point I go past my kid's computer where he's got the Matrix code like running in the background and 4 different windows, swordfish style up, with a YouTube video and a code window and this. And I was like, what are you doing, man? You're not hacking Marathon. So then we made fun of him for hacking, right? Hugh went and got Steam on there, and we're putting Hacknet, which is a great video game, by the way, so much fun, to try to get him to play Hacknet to goof around like he's a hacker a little bit. But it was definitely interesting.
Definitely have to make sure that he stays, allow him to be interested in that, right? Obviously, and keep him going on that, because look, there are worse choices to make than learning how to code.
Yeah. The kind of choices that make you drop more than one F-bomb in a PG-13 show.
And that's the night.
There you go, Joe. Set you. Thank you. It's Volley and Spike, baby. Volley and Spike. Check out Kurt. Via by Kurt everywhere you
Follow
want to
these
be.
nerdy dads on social media. Charles at Rock God of Podcasting. Joe at Joseph_Ard. Check out the website wiseandnerdy.com. And as always, they may not be your father, but they'll always be your daddy.
Fudge.
Except in that